Hello and welcome to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar. In this video we'll be concentrating on Love's Philosophy by Percy Bysshe Shelley. But first of all, here's a little information on the controversial poet himself. So Shelley is a famous romantic poet, a contemporary of Wordsworth, Coleridge and Lord Byron. He was a well-known atheist at the time when he was writing, and for society this would have been shocking as individuals were expected to have a Christian faith. His views were seen as so shocking he even got expelled from Oxford University for sharing his views so freely in a pamphlet. Shelley's parents were absolutely disgusted by his range of views. It was shocking at the time to be a vegetarian, which he chose to be. He had politically radical ideas and really believed in sexual liberation. They demanded he gave up on these ideas. He refused. He brought scandal to his relationships too. His first relationship involved him eloping with a 16-year-old, and he left her actually whilst she was pregnant with their second child. She later drowned herself, and the court ruled that Shelley should not get custody of the children because of his wayward lifestyle. His most famous relationship was with the daughter of two prominent academics. Her mother was the proto-feminist Mary Wollstonecraft, and her daughter was called Mary. She later wrote Frankenstein, and you may know her as Mary Shelley. At the time that they mentioned their love affair, her parents rejected the relationship. She ran away nonetheless with Shelley and returned pregnant. They married and were happy for a small time, but he drowned quite shortly after that, aged 29. Quite a rock and roll and tragic and turbulent life, you could say. Yet there's some clues into his life that may shine into your interpretation of this specific poem, entitled Love's Philosophy. If we view automatically that a philosophy is a theory presented in quite a clinical, logical argument, here the title suggests this poem has some truths to reveal about love. Love here is personified. Love is also presenting a divine power, it would seem, that we need to respond to, obey, respect. The question I pose to you as you interpret this poem: is it really obsessional love, or simply a lyric poem of a really adorable speaker longing for their lover to care for them too? The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine, in one another's being mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me? Instantly we're struck by the philosophy here. Our speaker's saying all of nature is so interconnected. Why can't we be the same? It's clear that Shelley believed nature could teach us and improve our human interaction from the imagery that he chooses for his speaker in this poem. It's used to prove that our speaker should be with his potential lover. It's the verbs that personify nature that strike us first. The mountains mingle. The winds of heaven mix. There's meeting. There's kissing, there's clasping. Each of these verbs doesn't just personify nature. It's physical, it's sensual, its interconnections are bound. As if that weren't enough, though, the speaker uses religious imagery to strengthen their argument and maybe even manipulate their lover. It's imagery of heaven. It's imagery of law divine. We could say that in the time he was writing, whether he believed in God or not, he believed in something more than him. And so whilst he wasn't Christian, there is an emphasis on spirituality and nature as being almost spiritual. And so those language choices that seem to us odd, if he chose to be an atheist, are quite powerful here. All things by a law divine. The winds of heaven mix forever. If we were to step back at this point and look at the form of this poem, we have 2 stanzas with 8 lines each. And it would seem to me that the rhyme scheme and the structure of this poem mirror very much the tone and mood that the speaker presents. You have a pair here of A, B, A, B across this poem. And just like the images show that all of nature unites in its pairings to this one thing to support the universe, so the A-B rhyme scheme unites to prove they should be together. The other thing that strikes us is just the relentless nature of the Polysyndeton. We've got conjunctions repeated again and again with and, again and again. It's repetition that is relentless, which just shows how many examples our speaker has of how nature can seek to support another and how it's better in pairings. As if that weren't enough, we're bombarded with another sense. Aurally, that's our hearing. The alliteration we get of sounds like mix and mingle heightens this sense that nature moves more malleably than these 2 humans do. As we weave our way through to the second stanza, sibilance is a really strong device. Words like sweet, single, sister, kiss, clasp. The sounds are woven across the poem, but you really hear it as you hear the whole thing read. It mirrors the message that love unites the natural world. It's almost whispering this message for the reader. Across the whole poem, we can't see a single full stop. And perhaps this mirrors the idea that love does not stop. It's relentless, it keeps on going. Instead, though, we have semicolons that connect between our sentences, and even later on in each stanza we have a dash, which is definitely used in each stanza to signal interruption to the poem's whole flow, because there is a key change towards the end of each stanza. Each stanza ends with a question, definitely seeking a response from our addressee. It's interesting to note that each end of stanza has 5 monosyllables. Why not I with thine? If thou kiss not me. It disrupts the original rhythm that we've gotten into a momentum of across the poem, and definitely the unity of the stanzas. Were we to look at these lines, they definitely stand out. They stick out, in fact. The poet is using very intentionally for his speaker a distancing. These lines stand out to highlight that the whole point of this imagery and these different personifying verbs for nature is to prove that they should be together. It seems like the unity of the poem hinges on the addressee, the reader, the intended reader, agreeing, connecting with the speaker. Without being able to do that, all is lost. So if we were to zoom out of this poem and to make our judgment clear, perhaps the question that should be raised really is, what might stop a lover from responding? Is the addressee married? Is the speaker? What are the laws that stop them? What are the boundaries and barriers for this true love to be in operation? Ultimately, though, whether you choose to see this as a manipulative ploy, much like Marvell's to his coy mistress, or as something more innocent and sweet in a bid to win someone's affection, Shelley is very evocative in his language choices, and this time-old classic in our canon seeks to enthrall us by how natural imagery is given zest and proves to be an advised sage for us and our love lives.
Why not subscribe to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar for all things English, literary and grammatical?